What does it mean to be the strongest? When you hear this phrase, you may think of characters like Naruto, Ichigo, Satoru Gojo, or even someone like Boruto. These characters usually get all the attention and glory from the side characters and fans of the show because when a new big threat appears, we look no elsewhere but to these characters for reassurance that the good guys will prevail yet again. But what about the overwhelming pressure and detachment of oneself and mental health to actually become and maintain being the strongest? I've been inspired to make this video from the latest chapters of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex and JUJUTSU Kaisen, so if you didn't already figure it out, there will be mild spoilers in this video for both manga, but now that you've been warned, let's get into the video. What does it mean to you to be the strongest? Some may say to be the strongest is to protect, resilience, determination, and emotionless. Some believe the strongest are the ones who should make the toughest decisions and take on the hardest battles so everyone can live happy. When the world is faced with planetary or even universal threats, everyone looks at the same person for salvation, protection, reassurance, and it's expected for that person to carry all these people's emotions, dreams, ambitions, even fate on their shoulders and do their job without an opinion or say in the matter. Like many celebrities often say, it's lonely at the top. And it truly is. Many strong characters often yearn for that one person who could finally give them a challenge or make them feel alive. Throughout this journey, many lose themselves or develop dictatorial ideologies in belief that they are the ones who should decide everything if nobody can pose a threat to their power. The burden of the strongest is heavier than you can ever imagine, and not everyone can mentally handle having power. So when we think of burden of the strongest, it means the one who carries everything. At that moment, you become the most important person in the world. This is the apex level of pressure that exists in fiction. My new favorite example of this has to be Satoru Gojo. Gojo is one of the main protagonists of JJK and widely referred to as the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer in the world, being the first person to inherit both the Limitless and the Six Eyes in the last 400 years. Like the strongest, Gojo is the one burdened with this responsibility. I don't want to give people the wrong idea. Being the strongest isn't all bad. For example, it was stated by Jiro Awasaka that the only reason the cursed users are out and about is because Gojo was sealed. Otherwise, they'd be at home. So just the thought of Gojo's presence alone is enough to keep threats somewhat away. It is that fear that truly makes him the strongest. My favorite panel of JJK isn't some action-packed fight scene or some top-tier heated moment filled with the best animation known to man. It's this scene right here. This panel is so special to me because it shows vulnerability. It shows trust. It shows humanization. We often get caught up in the strongest blindly accepting his duty and fighting to protect us. But if the protector is busy protecting everyone else, who will protect him? Who will care for his feelings, his mental? It was Yuji out of everyone who looked at Gojo as Satoru Gojo, his sensei and friend, instead of Satoru Gojo, the strongest. It was then everyone proceeded to show that same love. This may feel insignificant for a lot of people, but it's these moments that make the most difference in a person's ability to fight at his best. Because true strength isn't always being able to overcome your opponent or knowing 1,000 techniques. It's simply having someone or something that is worth protecting. These characters are looked up upon and honored for not only their merit, but for their ability to stand up against most to any threat alone. This is why most of these characters often die alone. It isn't because they prefer to fight alone or doesn't believe in their friends. It's that these characters have ascended to a point so far past their peers that having anyone fighting alongside them would just hinder their ability to fight at their full capability, putting not only their life, but the fate of the world in jeopardy. Although some characters have been lucky to find a friend or teammate who can relatively keep up with them in combat, or even complement their fighting style to be even more potent than before, the reality is most strong characters either reject this idea and try to burden themselves with everything, or that person actively conflicts with the main character. I really do appreciate the way Gojo was defeated. I love how he was reunited with his comrades in his final moments, reminding us just who he truly is and how we should remember him, freeing him of his burden of being the strongest, freeing him from all expectation and duty, having him experience again what it feels like to be a normal person. Even Gojo himself emphasized that there is a loneliness and solitude that comes with unrivaled strength, and he feels bad that he couldn't give Sukuna more of a challenge. Gojo understands firsthand what it means and the burden it takes to be the strongest. Naruto Uzumaki, widely known as the strongest shinobi of his time and strongest Kage of all time. There are many times where Naruto was declared the strongest in the world, but my favorite version of Naruto would have to be Sage Mode Pain Arc Naruto. This is when Naruto found out firsthand what it truly means to be the strongest. His village in ruins, his close friends, comrades, and even his mentor all defeated by this new great threat. And he knows he's the only one currently capable of defeating pain. Naruto displayed a vulnerability in this fight that he has to overcome before he truly accepts his new role as the protector. Being burdened with the title of the strongest is tough, it's lonely, it's scary. Naruto learns this firsthand when the Nine Tails almost completely takes over his body and psyche. The self-doubt, the pain, the pressure, it all proved to be too much for Naruto. He was this close to giving in, releasing himself of this burden through the overwhelming dark power that lurked in his heart. He needed something, someone to lean on, someone to tell him he's not alone, someone just to reach out. Through Minato's trust and belief, he was able to overcome that loneliness. That confidence boost he gained from his father was just enough for him to re-establish his trust in himself. These two panels tell the same story, equally as important to me. They show that even the strongest of people need approval. They need motivation. They need love. The strong are meant to protect the weak. That's the idea that society has instilled in our minds. But often more times than not, when it's the strong that need protecting, nobody is ever there. Selfish, inconsiderate. That's what they think of you. They get so tied up in caring for others. It's easy to forget about yourself, putting aside your own self-worth for everyone else's happiness. This is the burden the strongest have to passively carry, because if they can't do it, nobody else will. As I stated before, this will make or break a character. The constant feeling of having the need to be of service to people who need you is not a good feeling. The rewards of so is self-pleasing, but the cons soon prove to outweigh the pros. This is something most characters have to overcome. This is what often makes them the main character. Being able to overcome adversity through their strong will and morality. Being able to get past the pressure of actually being the main character. This is what makes them so likable, so easy to idolize. They look like the perfect being sometimes. And it's because not just anyone could take on the responsibility that they do. The character that is probably going through the most adversity right now in the manga community is none other than Boruto Uzumaki. The pressure that Boruto is under right now has to be the greatest I've ever seen. The challenge that Boruto has to undergo can only be executed by the strongest. And so far, he has looked exactly like that. The boy who had everything and lost everything. His mother, his father, his village, his life. His master doesn't even remember the moments they had together. The moments that what makes a bond special. It's just him against the world. Nobody is on his side. And the only people that are on his side are just there with him, associating with him, not truly caring for him. With the world currently in danger right now due to the Ten Tails and Kawaki being in a position where he can do anything he wants, Boruto is the only person, and I repeat, the only person capable of doing anything to save the world as we know it. He truly carries the fate of the world on his shoulders. Boruto being the strongest has another meaning. Boruto has no choice but to become the strongest. Nobody will protect him. He doesn't have the time to have mental breakdowns. He doesn't have the time to sit there and cry. He can't worry about his well-being. He can't worry about his life, because his life isn't even his anymore. He lives to fulfill one purpose. He has one role. He must produce. He must endure. He must protect. Protect from the shadows like his master Sasuke. It's no wonder why Boruto hasn't even smiled since the manga started. There's nothing to be happy about in his life. It's time to take care of business. The ruthlessness he showed Code was a result of his position and how it's affecting his mental. He's in no position to show his enemies any mercy like his father. If he lets down his guard and gets struck from behind, he has no comrades to have his back. He has no comrades to pick him up once he falls. He got one chance. If he fails, it's all over. He'll just be a faint memory. a memory to everyone but Sarada and Sumire. But against a world who constantly opposes their ideals, in this position there is little they can hope to achieve by themselves. I truly believe Boruto is the living embodiment of the burden of the strongest. I love these three characters. I respect them for all they had to endure. Through trial and tribulation after tribulation, they delivered. Even at their lowest, they still swallowed their heart and put their own well-being aside to protect what's important to them. And even though some didn't necessarily succeed, they still took on the challenge and was prepared to do so, putting their lives on the line time after time to maintain the peace. They truly carried and conquered the burden of the strongest. Give them their respect.